Hey everyone, this is Kat from kokoro&me. Welcome to another brand new video, and today we're basically going to build a Scandinavian-inspired tiny house. Well, it's not really that tiny, I guess it's somewhat of a small house. In the beginning I actually wanted to trial building a tiny house or small house or somewhat of a starter home, so kind of have 20,000 simoleons as my budget, but whilst I was kind of doing the exterior design, I already kind of slipped through to, what was it, I think around 20,000. So I was like, all right, well, let's scrap that and just make somewhat of a tiny, well, it's not really that tiny. So it's not really part of the super tiny house build challenges where you literally have a 4x4 or 5x5 square or anything like this. So it's kind of a little bit bigger than this, but I guess not as huge as my other build. So when I started this build, I kind of had somewhat in mind for what I wanted to achieve with it. So I wanted it to be somewhat Scandinavian, and I knew I wanted these and these colors for the walls, and I wanted that and that kind of roof style, as well as these and these windows and doors. So I kind of knew what I wanted, but in the end, I decided to go for somewhat of an extended garage. So it's like a garage room that has just a little square attached to it. So I didn't really want to add too many windows to the garage part. So you can see that here on the left. So the left square is basically the garage part, and the right square or rectangle is the extended part. So hence I decided to actually go for those tiny little slit windows that are really high up for anything that's not on the window front, which you might have seen already, but it's on the right side. So we've got lots of big windows where you can see through, and that's kind of like a stylistic Scandinavian kind of thing for me. I'm not sure if that's somewhat of a general architecture trend and it's not really Scandinavian. I don't know, I might be talking nonsense, but yeah, this is kind of what I had in mind, so I went ahead with it, and I kind of wanted to create this house in a very modern style. So when it comes to the exterior in general, so we do have tiny little half walls and then fences in between. We've got those big windows, so kind of like a window wall in a way. And then yeah, it's kind of simplistic from the outside. It does have a nice little roof garden on top of the garage, which I thought is kind of nice and kind of adds a little bit to the I guess the look and feel of the house. So and then in combination with the kind of somewhat flatter half roof, I thought it was kind of nice. So yeah, this is where we got in the end. So I'm currently looking at the floor plan, and I wasn't really sure how to deal with things because I've never really done a tiny build challenge or small or starter home really in that sense. And I kind of find it interesting at the moment just adding shapes together. So what we've done here is basically have two rectangles somewhat sliced together and kind of trying to make sense out of the room. So we will basically have a bedroom and then an open plan kitchen / living room, and this tiny square you've just seen that will basically be a really mini bathroom. Whilst the floor plan is somewhat sorted, we can then move on to the exterior design. So I wanted to keep it quite simple, so not too many flowers or any decorative items in there. So all we do have in the backyard is a little space for a terrace, as well as a few trees. I didn't want to basically add too many big trees because I felt like this would somewhat be of a recently refurbished thing, so maybe the trees haven't grown that much yet. And the back garden is kind of somewhat simplistic, except for this little corner where I just repeated the plants and rocks or stones I've used on the roof, as well as on the front side of the house. So kind of just using what we've got there. And then I quite like creating like a little flower area. So we've got these little white flower bushes there, and I did quite like adding the really flat fencing to it, as well as kind of tinting the flooring from grassy green to kind of like something that looks like soil. So I do like those stylistic, very clean and measured elements to the house. So we've got that one basically parting the garage door and the front door in a way as well. And I think that's actually quite nice, even though the garage is not really being used as a garage anymore, so my sim won't have a car. I did trial in the beginning to actually put in a car there, but I wasn't really sure how big they have to be in order to look realistic in The Sims, and then they were just too big because I really wanted to keep the space in the back as well. So I just decided to scrap it. Meanwhile, the build videos moved on to the interior design. So at the moment we're looking at the little kitchen corner, and I decided to kind of really give it a minimalist approach while still using Scandinavian-inspired items. So I quite like those kitchen counters. They are quite cute, and they're somewhat in a contrast to the really modern look and feel, but due to everything being so white and so clean, I think it kind of comes really well together. So because we do have those really high windows, I decided to actually scrap using any counters that are somewhat mounted to the walls. So the kitchen looks kind of very minimalist. So I decided to make use of the wall space and kind of not clutter too much, because you want to keep it quite simplistic or minimalist in a way. So we only have what we need, and what kind of makes it feel a little bit homely. At some point, I think I'm also adding some, yeah, there we go. We've got some shelves with some items, but they're not really overly cluttered or anything in that sense. So they're quite, I guess, they have a few items on it, like a cookie jar, some flowers, salt and pepper, etc. And that's basically the kitchen already. So for the bathroom in the beginning, I actually thought, let's just keep it so there is basically a shower and a toilet, because we do have a sink in the kitchen, and that's what lots of people do when they do tiny house builds. But then I decided to actually pull in one square, which you can see right now. So there's the toilet in there, so a nice little niche corner, which kind of creates a little niche on the room that's outside there, which is kind of the living room, dining room, and kitchen area. And at some point I will be actually adding another wall there that kind of adds somewhat of a nice atmosphere to the whole thing. So you've got your little niches, but meanwhile we are already moving on to the bedroom. At first I found it quite weird that basically we do squeeze in quite a lot of utility rooms into a small space. So you've got the kitchen in one kind of somewhat bigger room, as well as the dining area, the entrance hall, and the living room area, whilst giving this bedroom so much space. It felt really weird, but in the end I added an inbuilt wardrobe, as well as a little computer or office area, so it kind of combines a few rooms there as well. I must admit I struggled a little bit when I wanted to kind of do the Scandinavian style, because I guess I'm not too experienced when it comes to that style, and I somewhat always lean towards a mixture of modern and Scandinavian, I guess. So you've got this really homely look and feel in some of the chairs, and then combined with the bed that's currently there. But then sometimes you get really modern items, and I'm not sure if I'm somewhat breaking a style in there or not. But I think for this build it works really well. So hence it's called Scandinavian inspired instead of actually proper Scandinavian, I guess. I also wasn't really sure what color scheme I should give the bedroom, so I definitely wanted white wooden furniture, or at least, so what I was trying there with those two single beds, I was kind of trialing to see how it looks like when you move them together. So if it was like a double bed that's kind of has a metallic frame or anything like this, but it didn't really work out. So in the end, I decided to go with this bed, although I don't like that as kind of like a cold dark brown instead of a white, although I guess we do add quite some dark items here and there. So we do have like a dark framed mirror in the bathroom, so I guess it's all right. The color scheme for the whole house is basically light teal and aqua in combination with any creams, I guess, and the whites through the furniture, which is kind of nice, I think. So I like that it kind of pulls through the whole house. And I guess because it is a tiny house, it somewhat makes sense. Whereas whenever you have a really big house, then you can basically have a theme per room somewhat, and that's quite nice too. But yeah, for this kind of style, we just went with this color scheme. So when I was doing the office area, I actually wanted to kind of make it look like a proper office area, so it's not just a computer desk with a chair plunked into a corner. So I added those wall kitchen counters there, and kind of wanted to somewhat attempt to make it look like it's a little bit of a business area or office area. So I think it kind of works, although the areas are quite sterile. So might be worth it actually touching that up and just adding a few more decorative items there or anything. And since the house is kind of small, we don't really have space for a huge dining table, so I decided to just go with a tiny square one and then just add 2 chairs to that and basically use the space on the wall because you can't really put much on there. That kind of distracts because they are really full on wall windows. So I thought adding this tiny little dining table there right where the 2 of the bigger windows meet is kind of nice. And then opposite there it creates a little niche for like a TV area. And because we don't really have much space, I actually only added a 2-seat sofa, which you can see right now, but it seems to be of the same series as the dining table, so you could in the end turn that little cloth that's on there into the same pattern that the bed has, not the bed, the sofa. And that's quite nice, I think, and because that is basically going to be a house for maybe 1 or 2 Sims at the max, I think it's enough space for 1 or 2 Sims to live in, basically. So yeah, we're pretty much rounding up the house, so it's just about adding a few more decorative items. We've got the living room sorted, the dining area. So yeah, I'm just adding a few tiny shelving bits. I really like that bathroom shelf, and even though it has some towels on there, it still does have some vases, so I decided to actually add it to the wardrobe area as well as like a little coat hanger, and then some plants here and there. And I think that really brings a nice style into the house. So it is tiny, but it's also nicely decorated, I think. So we're now arrived at the last part that kind of needs decorating, and as the terrace. So I decided to settle for a medium-sized barbecue, as well as a nice parasol, as well as a set of garden furniture, which is basically a tiny table and 4 chairs. So we've got everything we need. So if the sim or the sim couple that lives or moves in there has some guests, at least there's enough space there. Added another half wall onto the left side just because I felt that the terrace somewhat felt a little bit left out there, or like not really properly designed, if that makes sense. So it was so random. So I wanted to kind of add a little element to it so it just felt a bit more considered, I guess. And now we're just touching up the last few bits and pieces, adding a few outdoor lamps or lighting towards the or into the bushes. So at night it looks nice and puts a nice light onto this. But yeah, this is basically the Scandinavian-inspired small house build. Quite happy with it. I do like the interior design, and the color scheme is really nice. So that's kind of the color scheme we've got at home at the moment as well. So I guess that's why I like it. But yeah, small kitchen area, small bathroom. I do like the bedroom in the end, even though we've got the garage door there. But yeah, in the end, I think it all turned out nicely. So yeah, this is the build. I hope you liked it. If you did, leave a like and subscribe, and have a lovely Sunday, everyone. Hope to see you soon. Bye bye.